Good between us.
Yeah. They're like literally the best ones. So we'll just banter it while the music's playing. So cheers. Hey, how's that Sleeperbot app? Is it a dope?
It's gonna be the drafting app.
Yeah. It's gonna be the draft app that we should take, and it's the best.
The ability to change draft picks, the ability to stop and pause and grab. It makes you so much fun.
And the updates are the best. I don't know if you get the updates on your phone, like the updates and all the news. It's super quick, super fast. Are we ready?
All right, let's do it.
Is that recording?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
We're gonna go. Let's do it.
Hello everyone, my name is Ranjot Brar and welcome to the week 1 edition of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I've got a few people on my side who will be competing today in tonight's questionnaire, we'll call it.
I don't like competing.
It's a discussion.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a discussion.
It's a discussion.
It's a discussion. It's a friendly.
Oh, I want it
You know,
to be
he
feisty.
wants it to be angry. All right, if I start tearing notes and screaming, I guess this is the place to do it. So
Okay.
we are pointing live.
It's discussion.
But you're gonna get this video not live.
It's gonna be edited later.
So just for everyone that's going to be watching the video, we've got a set of questions that we're going to go through, just highlighting how everything went in the draft. We're not going to be talking too specific about people, but we'll be talking more so about players.
Wait, I'm going specific about people. Are you not?
I mean, if the player picked the person, I'm gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you picked a player that I like, you
I
get
mean,
shouted out.
that's-
If you picked a player that I didn't like, you get called out.
And then after every discussion item, I will be selecting with my fan base, Alex Garcia and Chris Espiritu when he returns from the restroom. We'll be deciding who won each round.
Okay.
So with that, we'll get started. So the first question I've got after the draft is, who drafted the best team?
Ooh, best team. Starting in our strong.
Who you want to start?
You want me to start?
Yeah, I really don't like your answer for this. So
Really?
I'm gonna have you start.
Really?
Okay. Actually, your choice for worst team is even a worse answer than this one.
No, okay,
So-
wait. Alright,
We'll get to that.
We'll
Let's
get
get
to
started.
We'll get to that.
So, I'm gonna say the best drafted team was Dylan Vandenberg.
Wow.
And I'm gonna
Is that
run.
their snaps or what?
I'm gonna run through just the starters. So I'm
likes
gonna
snap.
run through his starters, and I'm gonna tell you why I think he had the best team.
Okay.
Okay. So first off, he started off. His quarterback's Garoppolo. Garoppolo is gonna be a decent fantasy quarterback.
Define decent.
I feel like he's gonna be in the mid-range. He's not gonna be the greatest. He's not gonna be the worst.
So you gave the guy with the best team picked a decent quarterback. So
Because-
that's great.
Because if you're a
No offense to
typical,
Dylan.
if
No
you're
offense to
if
Dylan.
you're a
Yeah.
smart fantasy person, you're gonna take quarterbacks later on. And Garoppolo is a quarterback that's gonna be in the mid pack.
Okay.
So why I like Dylan's team? One, he has Garoppolo. He's got paid. You follow the money when it comes to
yeah.
draft. Anywhere you go,
I thought you said
player-
Dylan got paid. I was like,
no,
Dylan
no,
got
no.
paid?
Garoppolo got paid. So in comes to fantasy terms, a player is going to get used when he gets paid. So Garoppolo got paid. Okay, you can argue he's 7-0 right now. Okay, he's not going to build off that. Obviously, he's going to drop. He can't stay unbeaten throughout the whole fucking season.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
One thing I like about him, Garoppolo specifically, he's a very accurate quarterback. He's a very accurate quarterback, okay? You can argue he had 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's not going to cut it in terms of fantasy production.
You're talking to a Niner fan, so
Exactly.
you understand all
So
of
7
this.
touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but from week 12 to week 17, and you can't really count week 17 because he played the Rams and they didn't start nobody, okay? So that's something that I feel Garoppolo needs to improve on is his interception to touchdown ratio, and he needs to improve on his touchdowns. But you also have a defense that, not gonna lie, is garbage. Their defense is garbage, especially
Yeah,
your secondary.
That's fair.
Especially your secondary.
We have no pass rush.
Nothing. Your D line and your secondary is garbage. So what does that translate to? That translates to a team that's going to have to be throwing a lot because they're going to get down in a lot of games. So that's his quarterback. I really like his receivers.
Yeah.
Taking OBJ as your number 1 and Doug Baldwin as your number 2. Doug Baldwin, we'll get to this later. Doug Baldwin dropped to the 4th round. Doug Baldwin is a top wide receiver. He's a second round. He's a second top 10. He's a top 10 if he's healthy.
If he wasn't injured, he would have been a second round draft.
He would have, exactly.
And generally, I think a good draft strategy is that if you have injury concerns about a guy, where they should be, you should just bump them up like 1 or 2 rounds. So Dylan getting him in the 4th, that's a steal.
It was.
Dude, who else is Russell Wilson going to throw the ball to?
Nobody. Besides maybe Tyler Lockett. We'll get there later too.
Don't get me started.
But, well, actually, I don't think we get to that, but I picked him, so for that reason. So, you have 2 receivers. You have 2 receivers that could be number 1s on any team, in OBJ and Doug Baldwin.
Question. For all your explanations, it's lengthy.
Oh, but you're trying to speed it up?
No, I mean, it's going to be an hour video.
No, it is supposed to be an hour. That's what I was supposed to be, an hour podcast.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Okay.
you guys trying to go?
All right, yeah, let's go. Yeah, keep going.
I was expecting like an hour podcast.
I was expecting like 30, but let's just go.
I like where you're going. You did work with notes, so.
Okay.
So
First episode vibes, guys. First episode.
Guys. So again, his 2 running backs are Dalvin Cook and Lamar Miller. Okay. Obviously, the biggest thing with Cook is if he can stay healthy. Obviously, coming off a torn ACL. However, he's going to be a slow progressing person. Okay. You're going to have Latavius Murray working in here and there, but through the first 4 weeks, he was a top running back 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he could perform to that ability. He just needs to get his foot under. He needs to get back into the game. Latavius Murray will eventually follow out.
Look, man, there's so many question marks with Dalvin Cook and Lamar Miller. So Dalvin Cook, there's a few things that are working against him. That O-line is bad. Really bad. Okay? They, for some reason, really like Latavius Murray there. And added to the fact that you can try to use his sample size from last year, but last year, they don't have the same offensive coordinator anymore. Pat Shurmur's gone. Pat Shurmur's in New York. Pat Shurmur has always been running back friendly. It's not the same anymore. A lot of question marks. I wouldn't count on Dalvin.
But I just
being
watched
my
the
RB1.
preseason game today. They were running, and running some more. Although I have Kirk, so I hope it goes the opposite way.
Right.
But when they're in the goal line, who got the touchdown today? Latavius. Eventually, that will be Dalvin Cook's touchdown
I disagree.
later on.
So just I want to make sure for our viewers, it's something they can digest. I definitely want a discussion between both sides, but I think one thing we can do is, so let's let Reese finish with all these players, but Reese, maybe just do a quick run through
Okay.
of all
I'll
the
go-
players.
I'll go quick.
And then
You're
Andrew
going 10
will do a
minutes
quick
per player,
run through
man.
the players, and I would like a little discussion afterwards.
Okay, that's good.
But let's
Okay.
let
All right, so next
That's why we
person.
need him. Molly Karam.
Yes.
Right
Lamar
here.
Miller. So everyone thinks of Lamar
Shit,
Miller as a shitty running back. That's a very old guy, right?
That's true.
Lamar Miller's 26 years old. People don't understand that. He's a very young running back. When Deshaun Watson was in the game, he was the number 6 running back when Deshaun Watson was playing. If Deshaun Watson looked very good in the preseason, he can sustain that with a 26-year-old Lamar Miller, who people think he's such an old guy. He's not. He's still really young. And he's still a serviceable number 2 running back. Then you got Travis Kelce, a top 3 tight end behind Gronk and Kelce. My biggest concern with Kelce is obviously having a rookie quarterback. But what's a rookie quarterback's favorite friend? Tight end. Tight ends are always rookie quarterback's favorite friends. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a big bomb thrower, but he's still got to look towards his tight ends. That's his main guy. Then my favorite part about Dylan's team is that he has a very high upside bench. Very, very high side. I don't even have it in front of me, but I can pull it up. Dylan's upside bench. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up.
Technical too.
We're working through this.
Insert.
We're working through
I
this.
promise, the future videos won't be this long.
Okay.
We are 10 minutes in.
Dylan has Robbie Anderson, number 1 receiver in Jets. Tariq Cohen, which is going to be a good third down back in Chicago. Chris Thompson, where you have aging running backs in Washington. Chris Goodwin, which is a very good Godwin, sorry. For a good Tampa Bay receiver that has Deshaun Jackson, which is past his prime, and Mike Evans. And then you have Jeremy Ross. So he has very, very John Ross, sorry. So he has very young bench that has a lot of upside. And then I think people are overlooking Chris Hogan with no Julian Edelman his first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chris Hogan came on very, very strong towards the playoffs and the Super Bowl. He came on, caught a touchdown. He's white. He's white. He's a white receiver. And Tom Brady loves his wide receivers. So that's my argument.
So thank you, Reese. We're now going to move it over to Andrew. Andrew, what you got for us?
Yeah, this is a no-brainer, man. Best team. It's not even me. Don't worry about it. My favorite team is Luke's. Right? Look,
I had him
man,
second.
Look, in this league, running backs come scarce, man. You never know what it's going to be. And when you got Le'Veon Bell, Joe Mixon, Royce Freeman, you can start those guys almost every week. Every week. You know, there's Joe Mixon is going to be, I think he's kind of like a poor man's Le'Veon Bell. All right. So his average yards per carry looked really bad, and most of it is when he was splitting carries with Jeremy Hill. He averaged like 3.1 yards per carry. In the time he got full workload with him in that offense, and this offensive line is bad, like really bad. He averaged 4.4 yards per carry in a bad offensive line. This offense has to progress, and Le'Veon Bell obviously a stud. He's got something to prove. If we're going to talk about bench, like his bench has some pretty big upside. Like you have Sony Michel, a rookie sitting on the bench.
You can trust a running back in New England?
I'll trust an offensive system who apparently can get running backs points. Yeah, like if you want to, like last year we can talk about New England Patriots running backs. We don't know who to start. First half of the season, you were able to start James White in a PPR league. And in the second half of the season, you were able to start both Rex Burkhead and Deion Lewis in that offense. So this offense naturally makes it easy to start running backs. You just can't predict it. But if New England comes out and says, you know what, like Sony Michel takes over the Deion Lewis role, you're gonna slot that guy in. Like it's just easy. So that and sitting on his bench are two PPR studs, Crabtree and Sanders. Who is Joe Flacco going to throw the ball to in Baltimore? Can you name the second receiver in Baltimore right now?
Can I name it?
Don't say Laquan Treadwell. Well, no, he's a Viking.
No, he's
John
Viking.
Brown. John Brown.
John Brown.
Ooh, okay. Can we? Yeah.
Thank you, fan.
Yeah, thank you, secret squirrel. Look, man, this Crabtree is always in a PPR stud. And then you got Sanders, who's coming to a Denver offense with a Case Keenum quarterback who, guess what, loves the slot. Last year, Adam Thielen became a wide receiver stud because he slotted in the slot the majority of the snaps. I don't know. I think it goes to Sanders. I mean, I love Demaryius Thomas, but he's getting old. I think Sanders is the way to go. I think any fantasy draft, when you walk out, you have to be happy about your running backs. And if you have Le'Veon Bell, Joe Mixon, Royce Freeman, you're going to be set. Dalvin Cook has some question marks. Injury. They love Latavius on the goal line. I don't know why. Dalvin Cook's obviously the more talented running back over there. They just really love Latavius. Lamar Miller, the guy's career yard per carry is so bad.
He was a number 6 running back.
In Deshaun Watson. Also, but the one other thing you have to think about with that offense is that offense was unstoppable in those 6 games. They're going to regress. Deshaun Watson had a 9.3 touchdown rate. There's only 2 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that had over 9%. Him and Peyton Manning. That's it.
But if he regresses, you think he's going to regress past number 6 to what, number 10?
The average quarterback touchdown percent? Oh, we're talking about running back?
Yeah, I'm talking about Lamar Miller.
I mean, Lamar Miller, if you have to rely on him as your RB2, I don't think you're that happy.
I think you're happy.
I don't think you're that happy.
Stoked.
So that's my case right there. That's my case.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
I had Luke as my number 2 team.
And in terms of quarterbacks, like I know Jimmy G, you know, he's got some high upside. If anything, Matt Ryan has a lot more tape than Jimmy G. And Matt Ryan last season
horrible.
Was disappointing. But if you watched his games, He had a lot of drops from his receivers. He even had an interception that came off a butt. Like Marshall Lattimore got a butt interception. He had so many
I agree with you.
fluke interceptions.
I agree with you because
And never again is it going to happen where you target Julio Jones. Julio is top 5 in red zone targets, but like bottom 20 in red zone catches. I don't think it's ever going to happen again. The guy's way too gifted. I think there's positive progression. There's second year in Sarkisian's system. They got Calvin Ridley. I think it's going to happen.
So one thing I'm gonna do just so we can wrap it up
Cheers.
and we can move on to the next question is we're gonna do just a final minute so Reese can rebuttal and then Andrew can rebuttal once just for this question.
You should time this for future questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
I would say
that's
2
the
minutes
plan.
of questions.
Oh yeah,
That sounds
the
good.
plan.
That sounds
is
good.
definitely the plan. So for just this first round, just so everyone has an equal chance to go back at each other, we're just gonna do 1 minute for Reese and then 1 minute for Andrew, and then I'll make a decision from there. So Reese, start up.
So I agree with Andrew in terms of Luke was my second favorite team. The only reason why I didn't put him first is because I feel like a lot of his players have a very large range of outcomes. You look at Corey Davis. You have a very, very, very small sample size, Corey Davis. He played very, very well in the playoffs, but you only got him through the playoffs. He was hurt a lot of the times. His dependency is going to rely on Marcus Mariota. Second, you have Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon could play at a very, very high ceiling, except bad things in that offense. If you watch the preseason so far, that offensive line is garbage. The offensive line is garbage. And he's going to be a better wide receiver than he is a running back. Next, you look at his tight end. You have Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed is a glass. If he can stay healthy, he's a top tight end in the league. But Jordan Reed can never, ever, ever stay healthy. And with that being, his range of ceiling is so big. And you got Royce Freeman, but for no, I like Royce Freeman.
Let's move it over.
But you have Devontae Booker, and they're
Oh,
fucking stupid for keeping Devontae
The
Booker.
last words. The last words.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just a lot of range. I don't know, man. You can get a. Are you getting a safe floor week to week with Lamar Miller? Are you getting? I don't know, man. It's just hard to pick. Are you getting a safe floor with Tariq Cohen? Like you don't even know. They want Jordan
He's a
Howard on
good
the
player.
field all the time, right? Yeah, I mean you talked about Robbie Anderson, your number 1 receiver. Number 1 receiver to who? Throwing the ball to him. Like, does it really matter?
Sam Darnold's been a stud. So
Oh,
far.
okay. So we're gonna count Sam Darnold, but I don't know. It's just I'm not gonna have a rebuttal argument too much because I don't hate Dylan's team. Like I said, it's just question marks. If you have to walk away from the draft unsure about your running back position, then to me it's not a good draft. It's the harder position to find later on in the year. I can't count on Dalvin Cook, Lamar Miller, Tariq Cohen, Chris Thompson to be my 4 running backs at the end of the draft.
Good.
All right, so I think this is
Love you, Dylan.
the toughest part. I got
Took my
make a
Jimmy G,
decision.
but
I actually want to hear from the fans a little bit. Alex, do you have any take on this?
can I say something real quick? I think Chris got lost. We have
No.
He's been gone for like 5 hours. Oh, he's working out right now.
I was gonna tell you he's working out, dude. I was gonna tell you he's working
Chris
out.
said, fuck it, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna live.
For the viewers out there, Chris has had a few drinks.
I don't want
we are
to disrupt.
slightly
He's working
concerned.
out right now as we speak. That's crazy. All right, no, sorry.
Oh, that's comedy.
Secret chipmunk.
So from a fan's perspective, from someone that had like Jordan Reed, your biggest question is if, right? And that is the question if. And I'll tell you, I had him, and he wasn't healthy. He was garbage.
The
And so,
tight end
like,
position is so easy to stream.
But if Jordan Reed's healthy, he's a top 3 wide receiver.
That's the biggest
when he
thing.
plays.
Correct.
He averages like 14, 13,
That's his
14
upside.
points.
That's his
Exactly.
upside.
You can talk. You can talk
That
about
just makes my point.
That's what I'm saying.
You're banking on potential, and
That's
potential is potential.
what I'm
Anyways,
saying when it comes to him. It's all
All right,
upside.
Okay.
To the viewers.
How many games? He's probably been hurt more games than he's played.
To the viewers,
Oh, and we're
after
talking
this
about
question,
hurt more games
we're going to
than
be
played.
sticking to
Dalvin
a
Cook.
strong
Hurt
2
more
minute
games.
question.
So-
This is more aggressive than
let's go.
Skip on first date, man.
No,
Alright, so
I'll
after
do
this,
more
we're gonna
shit.
stick to a very strict 2 minutes per question. And
Okay.
I promise I'll keep it more efficient.
20
But
minutes in.
for this one, I've got to make a selection.
Okay.
So I think those
No hard
will
feelings.
both be top teams throughout the year. But what just concerns me on Andrew's selection is just depth throughout. I do agree the running backs are stronger, but it does concern me some of the wide receiver depth and the tight end. So I really like across the board the selections that we've got
You got a good
on the
team,
inside. They're both going to be strong teams, but for the first question, I sided with my boy Reese.
All right, cheers.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right, we're
Next
gonna
one.
keep
This is gonna be a fun
keep,
one.
We're gonna keep this really good. So from here on out, I'm